making a video. You know, I don't know what to even call these people. There's this new age religion of nihilist, solipsistic fantasy, blah blah blah. Anyway, so I think this is Logic Rolls the Dice. Looks a bit different, but talks the same. Looking like some sort of preppy douchebag, of course, but he says he's apparently got some sort of Eastern philosophy, so maybe I'll play the end of his video at the end of this video, but we'll see. Who cares? So he's responding to Anacondavat and Hofladay, and obviously these are all the same kind of people, these escapism people, who use this, you know, this non-question, or whatever this cliche of "I think, therefore I am," and as the premise for a philosophy. It's the foundational axiom that this is where we start. This is how you first, the first question or the first statement you make about existence. And you can just change that, you know, so easily into something where you say, I am a thinker, therefore I am. You know, pluralize it. Recognize I am rats, you know, if we were rats. You know, first acknowledge your form in some, you know, I feel, therefore I am. You know, I sense, therefore I am. You know, you can change it into some other verbiage that makes it less pretentious on its face. So I've attempted to argue that this is like somebody going to court and just saying the invisible man did it, right? And they'll say, well, you can't disprove the existence of the invisible man. And it's the same kind of argument, you know, the religious people hide behind. You can't disprove the existence of my gods. And I think you can have logical proofs. So, but they take time for somebody to understand those logical proofs. Because you have to explain, well, let's speculate about where your creator came from. Where did this invisible man come from? What functions could produce such a thing? And whether we could find a mechanism that would actually create what you claim to state exists. And you could make logical arguments of, you know, that there's just no mechanism capable of creating what you claim to exist. That there would be either contradictions in your philosophy created by you establishing the existence of this mechanism, like, for example, the God who sits around forever, to a perfect God who sits around forever, just sitting around forever, and then one day decides to create very poorly and has to ruin his creation, you know, at least twice, because it failed so dismally. But yet he's perfect. Yeah. Doesn't sound right. Well, anyway, so I don't want to make the religious argument. So I want to make the argument against this idea that we come into the world without knowledge. That's first stupid. And that we don't come into the world, we don't acquire wisdom of these catches, these catch-22, you know, famous movie, Catch-22. That you can write all kinds of catch-22s, if that's what you intend to do. Now, you can write good law, or you can write catch-22 law. You can do good philosophy, or you can do catch-22 philosophy, where you throw in these, you know, what if, you know, based on no evidence, what if the invisible man did it? What if the, you know, it's like a troll at court. You could have just a troll who just sat there every 5 minutes and says, what if the invisible man did it? What if the invisible man did it? So, I would argue that when you assess reality, you assess it understanding the difference between Bugs Bunny and, I don't know, pick somebody, alive and real. You know, there's a difference. You know the difference. You know the difference between a fable and actual historic data. And you don't pretend you can't tell the difference between those things because you know the difference based on their creation. Why does this story exist and who wrote the story and for what purpose? So you can analyze the source. And you can also just analyze the story itself because the characters have superpowers that don't exist and there's no evidence they can exist. and so there would be really no point in creating the whatever 10-eyed human or something. It just doesn't happen. All right, so this isn't I think, therefore I am. This is what do we do when we get here on Earth and we assess our existence. Well, the first thing we do, we don't assess our existence till first we learn vocabulary and even how to process information and to think. And I've sort of made that point. So you don't get here fully informed and then told, turn the machine on now. So you acquire plenty of information about functions and processes. So this whole idea of thinking that we're brains in a vat or that we're on a holodeck or something, let's use the holodeck as the example. And so we can detect no flaws in this holodeck. It's quite perfect, which is, we can understand is technically miraculous. And it's created for the purpose of entertaining this one stupid brain, which would be, when you know what's inside your brain, you know that would be a complete waste of time. All of that holodeck for this, for these thoughts? I mean, come on. That's embarrassingly silly. So you can deduce that this isn't about you. It's, if anything, it's about a whole bunch of people in a holodeck, or it's about something else, but it can't be this solipsistic thing isn't going to work. Because if you're going to claim solipsism, you're going to claim that everybody else is an illusion or a hologram. You're going to have to concede that a tremendous amount of technology went into the creation of this illusion. That those illusions can't be created out of nothing, out of thin air. That's, you might as well just do the Invisible Man thing for the rest of your life. If that's all, you just say, well, I can't disprove God, so God must exist. That's not logical. I'm just saying, we know our brains can believe incorrectly. They can think something that's wrong, and they can think things that are impossibly wrong, things that just can't physically be. There's no evidence of them, and if you had to actually construct them, they're beyond our capacity to construct. All right, so I mean, all this comes down to, as I've stated before, is the evolution is the giveaway, and to pretend to do your solipsism thing or your community brain thing, or that's what the logic rolls of dice apparently got all Eastern, and now he thinks we're all one brain or something. To do all that crap, you basically have to deny evolution as a process. You have to deny our creation, where the evidence in the hologram points. And it points there quite directly. And again, now we're back to a silly argument that your constructors of your entertainment device have gone to the trouble to put a huge number of lies into the environment to fool you into thinking you evolved on this planet, when of course you didn't do that. So I just say, so you can go through all of these details, and you can kind of just point out how Invisible Man, no evidence, fantasy character, might as well talk about the big bad wolf and the three little pigs, or some other gingerbread men, or the toy soldiers marching. You might as well talk about all kinds of Santa Claus. Santa Claus did it. I mean, it has no credibility as an argument. The argument from they're fooling us has no credibility. It has no evidence. It has absolutely not one shred of evidence. There's not one glaring defect in this hologram. Not one glaring defect in the whole frickin' thing. There's nothing you can hang your hopes of a life where you can do whatever the fuck you want and not give a fuck about everything else that's going on. So, I mean, another way to disprove this, I suppose, is if you could actually, it would be great to do a candid camera, where you actually have aliens come to Earth, and arrive at somebody's door, and you could make really good ones, ones that really are convincing, somehow give them really impressive powers. So you fool the person completely. And then play this game with them. Have the aliens come to Earth and meet one of these assholes. And then start giving them this jive that they're just holograms in their perception, and that I can now pour barbecue sauce on you and slowly roast you over a fire
and it's not a crime of any kind. Obviously, it's not a crime. I'm roasting a hologram. Who the fuck cares? This has no meaning. I mean, this could just be turned around, or have rats, create little talking rats. That would be so cool. And to have rats have this conversation, to show up at your door and start talking about how, we just don't get it with you humans, in this whole perception that you're doing your therefore I am stuff. I mean, we think a lot better than you, and our thinking is the real thing. You're just doing holographic thinking. It's not real thinking. So we really are. You really aren't. And so now we're going to entertain our children by torturing you. Something like that. It just, you'd see the truth revealed. These people would soon be arguing how you can't do that logically. Don't you understand how that's just complete bullshit? What, you traveled millions of miles across space to tell me a Santa Claus story about your special creation? Oh, come on. You can't be that silly. You flew in a spaceship, and you had probably entertainment devices, and machines that cooked your food, and all kinds of fancy stuff, and you assholes couldn't figure out that the rest of the universe is in a hologram? That you're not, some kind of special conscious thing that's the only thing having an experience? Oh, fuck you. No way. No way. That's what you'd be saying. So it's such an insidious kind of religion, because the first original religion, they didn't have a choice. They didn't have any facts at all. The people who invented gods, they didn't have any facts. They had to blame everything on something controlling, because everything looked like it was out to get them. The world was harsh and brutal and terribly mean, and superstition took over. They reached for any kind of throw salt over your shoulder, jump up and down, spin around in a circle, do whatever voodoo it takes to try to make this thing, roll okay. I mean, it's funny that his name used to be Logic Rolls the Dice, because he obviously rolled snake eyes logically. You lose. And that's how religion started. I mean, those people have so much more integrity than idiots today, after all that we have learned about physics and biology and the structure of everything, and all the tons of evidence that points to our origin through a 4 billion year process of evolution, a chemical evolution. And they wish to just throw all that in the garbage and say, I don't have to pay any attention to that. That's not important evidence. The important evidence is, I think, therefore I am. Da, 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 da. So what? So fucking what? So do every one of the other biological organisms, that have mammal blood and neurons. They also think. They also feel. They also experience. I mean, it's just so fucking disgusting. And so where is this coming from? What kind of vanity is this? To take all that knowledge, flush it, to fall in love with an invisible man theory. Why would they do this except because, it's very convenient. Takes the pain out of life, I suppose. And that's it. There's nothing. It's a rationalization. Well, it's bigger than I am. The big machine is in control. You don't have to take any responsibility for the fact that you might be the smartest thing in the universe anymore. Because obviously the machine that made the hologram is smarter. The God did it. And the gods are in control. And so I don't have to worry. I don't have to be responsible. I don't have to take charge. I don't have to... I'm not the one that's required to worry about it. Not my job. Maybe that's all it is. But it's foul. And so Hothleday has this arrogance about, he says something like solipsism can't be disproven or something. It's like I said, it's like a God theory. Somehow God can't be disproven. And I would argue that yes, it can. It's logically vacant. It's missing any evidence, first off, giveaway.
I mean, give away to fairy tales. All the fairy tales had. There's no evidence of Goldilocks. There's no evidence of Little Red Riding Hood. There's no evidence of the talking wolf. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. But that's sort of a giveaway. No evidence is important as a giveaway. You know, circumstantial evidence number 1. Circumstantial evidence number 2. Oh, he sat around forever. Oh dear, no, that's not going to work for a thinking thing. You know, you can go just down the list. So, but again, just understand what Hafideh's theory is. That somehow the dominant theory, the theory that seems the most inescapable as a truth, is some kind of babble about how the universe is just a projection, and we are somehow the thing that's getting projected. You know, I don't even, you know, I mean, if you're going to say, I think, therefore I am, and you're not going to wonder why you think or what you think for a reason, you know. So at least Hafideh goes through some of that logic to say, well, what causes thoughts and what causes them to thought the way they thought. And, you know, so he understands cause and effect is the process for that. And yet, but he doesn't think the cause and effect has any material history. Well, I won't say he doesn't. I mean, I'm just saying that when he does this wishy-washy concession that I will accept the existence of material reality for the sake of argument, it just makes you want to say, well, fuck you. If that's the best you can do, I'm really not going to have a for the sake of the argument with some kind of devil's advocate who's just playing with it. It's like playing with poo or something. You go ahead and do that, silly person. I mean, when you're ready to do some kind of real thing, okay, fine. But this, I'm going to back out as soon as I don't like the subject matter anymore, bullshit is fuck that. So he's just a religious cunt. They're all just religious kooks, evading, taking responsibility for the world that does exist, and the mechanism that made it this way. So that's another subject that Hafideh got on. It's just so easy to unravel, is this whole entropy bullshit and everything else. Because there's no gaining of complexity without evolution. So without evolution, there's no rule about, oh, it gets more complex. Well, no, it doesn't without evolution. It just recycles the same crap over and over and over again. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't evolve. Okay, solar systems, the mechanism of solar system doesn't get more complicated. The mechanism of galaxy doesn't get more complicated. They just live and die. Live and die, live and die. They don't evolve into anything. So the complexity of most of the chemical compounds in the universe are made by biological organisms. We break the physics rule of creating this bastion of complexity. So even that is just bullshit. Trying to apply mathematics and physics to the general subject of understanding our place, what we are as machines, is just kind of silly in some respects. I mean, there's just no point in taking. Well, there's no point in even having a conversation about words like entropy anyway in physics. It's just unimportant to the mechanism in terms of understanding its history and its current condition. It just isn't applicable to the way the universe works, because the universe is a bunch of closed systems, just as our individual brains are individual brains, and they connect to a network of human beings that write books and do all kinds of things. So collectively we can construct and advance a knowledge base, but individually we just live and die. But that's important because we do this experiencing thing, the configuration of suffering and torment and fear and anguish and grief and all of that stuff happens inside of these individual brains, and it's an event that takes place. They're actual tornadoes, or whatever if you make them into physical things, give them a physical representation, and then every time one of those configuration happens, we have to acknowledge, put a little slash somewhere, acknowledge there was a tornado there.
There was a tornado there. We put a mark because it happened. The configuration happened. And the experience happened. And that's what we have to account for. And again, that's what I'm arguing. They're just evading with a silly God theory of it's a hologram, it's a projection, or it's something mechanical that doesn't have properties, that doesn't have different configurations that are significantly different. Not small differences, big differences. Big difference between flashlight and brain, neurological brain. Big difference. Holiday doesn't understand that as a big difference. He just sees mattering, and that's it. Nothing to see here. And clearly, I think the evidence demonstrates there is something to see. We're seeing it, we're experiencing it, we're doing it. And it's silly to deny it. And again, like I said, if aliens came here with a denial story, a way of denying your existence and your consciousness and the importance of your welfare, you wouldn't think they were too smart. You'd think they were stupid fucks. So this pretense that smart people are a trip over I think, therefore I am kind of bullshit. That's what smart people trip over, the question of understanding what we are. When no, smart people know that evolution happened on planet Earth, that we're biological machines created through that process, that we have functions, because of that evolution, and those functions are perception and feeling and thinking. Strategies, motivation mechanism, strategy mechanism. Not that complicated. Yes, it's not free. It's not. It's a Borg that created us. It's the story is a script that we're just reading. We're just a byproduct of an evolution. People couldn't speak English until the English language was invented. Martin Luther couldn't make speeches in America unless slaves were imported to America. Cause and effect, mechanical responses. Your whole life is basically just a reaction. The world acts, you react. Are you going to react by saying, it's too complicated. I think, therefore I am, and that just leaves too many open questions about how I got amming, how I got to do this thinking thing. It's too complicated. I can't understand a concept like evolution. Is that the reaction, or is the reaction, yes, I can understand a concept like evolution, I can understand the origins, I can understand the dilemma we're in as these machines motivated by a crude system, desiring to do crude things, eat, fuck, shit. Not very nice stuff all the time, kind of crass and selfish, because they're individual machines. And we can understand all that. And we can accurately state that's what took place here on planet Earth in the real universe. There's no hologram, there's no projection, there's no matrix created for your entertainment or for your torment, more likely. No, it's silly, that's made up. That's a Goldilocks story. That's a fable. We can make up lots of stories about flying dragons. You could make flying cows. Would cows with wings, is that, should we believe it because we can't prove they don't exist? I mean, come on. It's just... And again, these are people that are so pretensive about... They're just sitting there with this pretense and bravado. Oh, look, I'm intelligent. I'm an intellectual. And you're tripping on evolution? I mean, come on. So like I said, I don't know if I want to do, the whole a mechanical write-up and then go through all the fables that you'll concede are fables. And then I have to show you how the fable you're talking is exactly like these other fables. It's an Invisible Man story. It's a Flying Cow story. It's a Goldilocks story. It has everything in common with a fable. A made-up pile of crap. There's no Jesus. There's no gods. There's all bullshit. It's all made up by human beings. There's stories human beings told. And you're just telling a story that has no connection to any facts. Now, if you had some kind of defect in the hologram you could point to, then you might have some kind of hope. But you don't. So it's all just bullshit. Well, that's probably enough. Just, like I said, you can't. People are badly motivated. They're badly motivated. I don't think you people are motivated to see the truth. You're motivated to rationalize excuses to evade the truth, and that's all this bullshit is. You're trying to find your comfort zone, and it has absolutely nothing to do with honoring either intelligence or the truth. Because the truth is, we evolved on planet Earth, and that's why we're conscious. And the mechanism has clearly those features in it, a motivating device and a scheming device. So what the brain does, allows us to perceive value and then to do our calculations in terms of its acquisition. Measure the risk against the rewards. Anyway, it's all, I just don't. It does seem like there's an awful lot of these people, which I just don't understand. So, maybe it is worth constructing some kind of decisive argument regarding why fables are bad, okay? But that's all this is. It quacks, and it walks, and it wobbles, just like religion. No distinction at all. The Matrix cop-out. That's all it is. I hit the button.